Keeping your dog safe and happy at Christmas. Now, we all love to have our family and our friends over at Christmas. That's the whole point of Christmas, right? But it can be really overwhelming for your dog, especially if your house is quite quiet through the rest of the year, or if they're seeing a lot of people they don't usually see. One thing to be aware of is resource guarding. An anxious dog tends to be even more anxious when there is a lot going on and when there's a lot of people going around that they're not quite sure about. So if there is any resource guarding issues, then just make sure that there isn't any of the dog's usual resources that they guard laying around, that maybe your dog might be on a house lead or possibly tucked behind a stair gate. Just keep safety in mind, because your guests might not be aware of your dog's resource guarding, and if they are, it might slip to the back of their mind. To us it comes as second nature to keep an eye on our dogs and what they're up to, but to our guests it might not, especially if our guests are children, and we don't want any accidents to happen, especially at Christmas. With that in mind, be aware of your guests and how they behave too. Kids running around shouting, noisy toys, flashing lights, decorations, people wobbling around a little bit drunk, singing, lots of things going on is all a bit of an anxious dog's nightmare. Children can also unknowingly give dogs things that they shouldn't have. They might have toys that might have sharp edges, or be giving them snacks like chocolate that they shouldn't be eating. Children running in and out of the house might leave the doors open, so dogs might escape. People are generally not that careful, especially when it's not their own dog, so just be careful what your guests are actually up to and keep an eye on your dog. If you need to, you can always secure your dog in a quiet room somewhere, or have them on a lead and just keep them close. Now, if your dog is anything like my puppy Twyla, you'll be wanting to secure your Christmas tree to the floor or to another surface. Branches can be great fun to jump up and pull, and dogs love sticks, unfortunately. With that in mind, use a fake tree as well. The pine needles can be very sharp on real trees, and they can cause your dog a lot of damage if they were to ingest them. Also, dogs love sticks, as I said, and they would love nothing more than to chew off the branches, and then they could possibly get splinters too. Watch out for electrical wiring. Dogs love to chew things, especially things they shouldn't, and especially things that seemingly are life-threatening for some odd reasons. So just watch out for any exposed wiring that isn't usually around, things that maybe your fairy lights, or perhaps some musical things that you've got plugged in. Anything like that, your dog will be a little bit interested in over the Christmas period, because it's out of the ordinary. And things that are out of the ordinary usually warrant a little investigation, and with our dogs that investigation can often be with their teeth. So do watch out for electrical wiring, turn off plugs when they're not in use, and try and cover up any exposed wires where possible. Keep any presents out of reach. Now, obviously Father Christmas is going to look after his presents, so the dogs will never be able to get those. But it's down to Mum and Dad to make sure that any presents that they have that are around the house, the dogs must not be able to get to, because you want to surprise your children on Christmas morning. You don't want your dog surprising your children with chewed up things, and you definitely don't want them surprising your children with chewed up things several days before Christmas. We have enough of problems with that, keeping those naughty elf on the shelves out of the presents. We don't need the dogs in there too. With that, the dogs do actually appreciate presents, so give them appropriate toys at Christmas. If they like balls, then let them have a ball. If they like tuggies, let them have a tuggy. But again, just be aware of guarding, so if they're likely to guard their present, maybe it might be better if they have their presents when everybody else has gone home. Glass ornaments, they can get knocked over and they can get smashed, so just be very careful of those if you have dogs and children around too. And the same with chocolate decorations. Children love to help themselves to chocolate decorations, but the problem is so do dogs. And as we all know, poisonous, don't do it. Avoid candles. Now this one's a no-brainer really. If you don't want to set fire to your house, don't set fire to things around your dog. Use LED lights instead and just be careful of the wires. So we all love our Christmas dinner and we all love our Christmas dinner table. But it's very important to be aware that some of the decorations on that table are definitely not for dogs. Holly, poinsettia, mistletoe are all poisonous, not only for dogs but also for children, so make sure that they don't get in the mouths of either. Watch any alcohol. Similarly, no raisins, grapes, onions or sweeteners. So do not give your dog any Christmas pudding, do not give them stuffing, do not give them roast onions, and be aware of sweeteners. All of those things are highly toxic to dogs and we don't want a Christmas in the vets. Now avoid hideous rawhide. You can find plenty of natural chews for your dogs to chew on. They can have things like tracheas or maybe chicken's feet, or there's all sorts of things you can buy, but you do not need to give them those hideous red and green stripy bits of rawhide that look like Christmas decorations that come in the pet shop. They are made with hideous ingredients including glue and formaldehyde. The dye alone should be enough to put you off giving them to your dogs. They might look lovely and Christmassy, but honestly, do not do it. They're not good for your dogs and they can cause more problems than you realise. Dogs who do not have bones in their diet, if they're fed a commercial diet, shouldn't really need bones anyway, as their commercial diet should provide all the calcium and phosphorus they need. Raw-fed dogs do need a small amount of bones in their diet, and they really should be getting the bones they would normally be having. So very small bones that are easily chewed up for nutrition, very large bones that they cannot be swallowed for recreation. They should always have a bit of meat on them as well, just to coat it in case any splinters go down. Never ever ever give your dog cooked bones. Cooked bones, their cooking process alters the structure of the bone, makes it brittle and makes it splinter, and you can end up causing your dog a lot of internal damage by giving them cooked bones. So never do that. Turkey and vegetables from the table, however, are fine. So bits of turkey, maybe some roasted carrots. I'm sure your dog might like some roasted parsnips, maybe even some sprouts if you can bear the wind. Those sort of things, I'm sure your dog would love them. Now, as we said before, it's important to avoid overwhelm for your dog. So to do that, make a safe space for them to retreat to. Make it so that no guests and noisy children are allowed there. This is their peaceful zone. Keep some of the rooms in your house undecorated and give your dog access to those rooms too. This will give him a little bit of normality, so he can escape all the party atmosphere, he can escape all the noise, he can escape all the hustle and bustle that goes with Christmas, and just have a little bit of his normal home for just however long he's in there. And this will really help your dog to feel a little bit more secure and a little bit more relaxed, and help him to enjoy Christmas more. He can also have treats, though just be aware not to give him too many, especially if you have guests, because they might be wanting to give him treats too. And we don't want to give him so many treats that he feels sick, but we do want him to have a nice time. So let him have treats, just be aware how many you're giving him. If your dog enjoys walks, go for a nice long quiet walk, just the two of you. This will give your dog a chance to breathe and get away from everything that's going on. It will give them some space away from the house, away from all the guests. It will give him a chance to sniff around his usual places and just bring him down a little bit. If your dog is usually quite reactive, then perhaps a walk on top of everything else that's going on might not be the best idea. After all, we've always got to remember the bucket and the things filling the bucket, and we don't want to be filling the bucket further if we don't have to. So go for a nice long walk if your dog will appreciate it. Don't if they won't. If they won't, you can possibly encourage everyone else to go for one instead, to walk off some of that Christmas dinner perhaps. It will do your dog good to have a little bit of peace and quiet. If you do take them out, just watch out for gritting salt and antifreeze. both of which are highly toxic to dogs, and you can't necessarily see them, but they might be there in the puddles. Make sure when you walk the dog, you wipe their feet on the way in, and if there is gritting salt or anything like that across the road, try and avoid it where possible. Christmas can be a massive period of overwhelm for both you and your dog. What with all the build-up and people's hours at work changing, people coming round, decorations, music, lights, everything going on all the time, it can be really, really bucket filling for your dog and for you. So when you can, maybe the day after Boxing Day or the week between Christmas and New Year, give yourself and your dog several bucket emptying days. Do as little as possible. Do lots of scatter feeding and quiet activities with your dog. Allow them to watch the Relax My Dog channel. Let them have things to chew on in peace. Do so many bucket emptying exercises that your dog feels like they've been on a spa break. Do get in touch if you need any advice, because it's not unusual for a dog's behaviour to change or to regress slightly at Christmas because of all the overwhelm and the things that are going on. Always be aware of the bucket. Above all else, have a safe and happy Yuletide from all of us at Locke's Dogs Fun Not Fear. We're looking forward to seeing you in 2022.